All right, so we're kicking this one off. A little bit of fight, flight, or freeze. Looking more at the freeze response.
Yep.
The phrase fight or flight was coined by Cannon in 1927.
Yeah, that one's been around a while.
The freeze response. So this is the freeze response in animals
Yeah.
called tonic immobility. May be useful when additional attacks are provoked by movement or when immobility may increase the chance of escaping, such as when a predator believes the prey is to be dead and releases it.
Yeah, so this is what you hear like if a bear attacks you, act dead, because then
Yeah.
it won't chase you and mutilate you.
Yep.
So when I was reading this study, the freeze response in animals has been documented for a while.
You're right. Like opossums would be the main example.
Yes, and this is a freaking wild reality. For the possum in a freeze state, their brain locks up and they can't move to the point if another animal is eating its guts out, it will stay frozen.
Ouch.
Yeah, man. That's wild.
That's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Would not want to be a possum who's frozen getting eaten alive.
So, yeah, like bear attacks, animals, the deer that freezes and you run over it, the squirrel that just runs and then stops right in front of the car and looks at you, right? Like, so these are all things we're familiar with.
Even like with mice, like you see a cat, they're playing with a mouse, it acts dead, and then as soon as the cat stops, it runs away and gets away and made it.
Yes.
And I've literally seen that happen.
Yeah.
So it did save its life.
Yeah, which is so wild. So how does the freeze state, what are some examples of the freeze state in humans?
All right, so this is coming from the Guilford Press, 2022. Barlow's description of an adaptive alarm model suggests that a freeze response may occur in some threatening situations.
Yeah, so this is like, it's funny that 2002 wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, no. No, it wasn't.
Considering the fight or flight was coined in 1927, so apparently Barlow here did some research in the freeze response in humans, and as recent as 2002, which is pretty wild. But the literature suggests that a relatively high percentage of rape victims, which this is extremely tragic, feel paralyzed and unable to act despite no loss of consciousness during the assault. So it's a freeze state. If I just freeze, this terrible thing will stop and it will go away.
That's about the harshest, most horrible reality there is.
Yeah, no kidding. And again, like, it makes sense. Like, you can fight and some people fight, but if your abuser is stronger than you and you can't do anything,
Right,
and you
if you
can't
realize
run,
you can't do, like,
yeah,
you probably just freeze.
yeah, you just freeze. So what else is there left to do? So in this article by the NICABM, look that up. I don't remember what it stands for. Many times we see freeze in response to childhood trauma. And if you think about it, like we just said,
When you're a kid, you can't do anything about it.
yeah, you can't fight. You're too small. You can't run because where are you going to go?
You're not, yeah.
You don't even know your world outside your house. So where are you going to run to?
You know, like your house and the neighbor's house.
Yeah.
And everything else is a mystery.
Yeah. So you freeze.
Hey, bro, in like these scary movies,
Oh, yeah.
when someone just freezes up right before they're about to get,
Oh, and we all make fun of them?
and you're all laughing, you're like, what is this? Come on, just run, dummy.
Yeah,
Is
you're
this
so
what it
right.
is?
I never thought of that. This is exactly what it is.
And you're like, come on, dude, if it was me, I would be running.
Oh, that's such a good point.
But you don't know. You might freeze.
You might
freeze right up until the point where you get,
your arm sawed off.
oh, that's brutal. All right. So let's look at the brain during the freeze state.
This is pretty interesting.
This is also coming from NICABM. When we're dysregulated,
Yes.
whether that be in hyper or hypoarousal, or our prefrontal cortex, which allows us to think critically, goes offline, while our limbic system, which drives survival behavior, may be responding to threat.
It takes over.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild? Like, literally the prefrontal cortex just goes offline. It's like, nope, this isn't my job. I'm taking a break.
Wow.
I'm out.
That's insane.
And that's why, like, logically, like, again, like, they talk about in, military training or police training or home invasion training, you want to run the reps
So then
of a response.
So it's just secondhand.
Yeah, it's embedded in your limbic system because your limbic system just acts based on, like, it's like trigger response. So that's why, Taekwondo or...
I was about to say, all these martial arts, it's
Yes.
it's also about self-defense, but it's also training your system not to freeze up
Yes.
because you can't defend yourself at all
Yes.
if you're frozen.
Yeah, if you think about it, if you've never rehearsed in your brain, like mentally, if you just sit there and think logically, like, okay, cool. If my wife and I think about like, the kids, someone trying to take the kids, right? And so it's like, okay, cool. If getting the kids in the car and some stranger walks up and I sense danger, what am I going to do? And that's good to kind of think through that.
Oh, definitely.
But also, it's the reason you want to actually rehearse that is because when that actually happens, and if you go in that freeze state and the brain shuts off that prefrontal cortex, you no longer have access to that logical brain.
That's the whole point of any kind of training like that.
Yeah.
You're training with firearms.
Yeah.
I mean, a gun for self-defense means nothing if you've never shot it. Someone breaks into your house, you're going to freeze.
Yeah, it's going to take you like 20 times longer just to even load the gun, find the gun.
Yeah. Like, where is it?
You're just laying in your bed. Imagine being asleep too. Like
the person breaking in is wide awake because they have the adrenaline pumping from breaking in. You're coming from being asleep.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of the, talking about self-defense actually starts with making your home harder to get into.
Make it hard to get into, yeah. Because
So
someone
you can
tries
hear
to
it.
kick that door down. I read that stat too. Like for someone who has a weak door, it's 7 seconds and they're in your house. You have 7 seconds to respond before that person's with you.
That's not very long.
No, not if you're asleep.
Not if you're asleep.
Shit. Free state, man. It's real stuff. So what this means is that any information going into the brain, sensations, words, movement, can't be processed in a logical, cognitive way. So all the input. And that's just like you talk about the horror movie, which again is kind of an extreme comical version of this, but like the person's standing there and then like someone's in the distance screaming, rah, but that person's just like frozen.
Yeah.
And like that's because the brain literally, you don't even hear it. You just don't even, you're done. You just froze.
So kind of like what we were saying, like all the trauma responses, this is involuntary.
Yeah.
I don't think you choose, I'm going to freeze. I can't just do right now, bro, I'm going to freeze up.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty amazing if we could do that. Like you could control your body and mind to that degree, but it's involuntary.
Yeah.
So that's why you got to practice mental fitness as well as physical fitness.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother aspect of something we have to consider in life.
Good grief.